So we're there. We're on Twitch. We got both going right now while people show up. So go over to Twitch. Go over to Twitch. We're doing it. Yay. Yay, 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 yay. I'll let you guys know about the combo washer and dryer. I got them at the Goodwill bins. Okay, yay. People are starting to show up on Twitch. Okay, all right. So come over to Twitch. Madeline Pendleton on Twitch. We're there. We're there now. We're there now. Hi, hi, hi. Now I'm there. I'm on Twitch. I'm on Twitch. It's loading. Look. See, I got OBS. I'm there. We're there. Come over to Twitch. So that's why I did this. Just to let you know. We're over there now. Madeline Pendleton on Twitch. On Twitch. Okay. Okay, bye. Okay, we did both. See, I was recruiting people to come join us here, guys. I was doing a cross recruitment thing. But the washer on sliders is smart. It would probably break the slide. It's massive. It's huge. It's wild. Hi, Godless Communist. You managed to avoid police custody. Yay! Child of the Reach does not need a bail fund currently. Well, we'll be there for you in the future if you do. I'm really happy to hear that. You can share what happened if you feel comfortable, but you also don't have to. It's up to you. First time chat, Richie1927. Hi, hi, hi. Also, guys, I was already cooking up a little plot for us today to continue our Maduro thing. I had a few thoughts. I'm moving. Sorry. Last time I did this, you guys said it was loud. Sorry. Okay. So I have some ideas. So Alan McLeod actually has an essay specifically about the 2024 elections, right? Last time Child of the Reach. Yeah, he broke up with the rich girl. So right now he's off of that. He's back to being normal. He'll probably date another rich girl soon. David will. Okay, yeah. So let's see. Oh, good. I'm so glad, Richie. 1927. Nice. Here's what I was thinking. I don't know. People are probably still coming, but here's what I was thinking. We hit in the McLeod book the beginning of the transition from Chavez to Maduro. Then we jump over to McLeod's current essay about the 2024 elections, and then we talk about the American election monitoring that's funded by the government, basically. What do you guys think about that? Supreme Leader Fork. Supreme Leader Madeline, Chairman Fork. Yeah, that's it. That's what it is. Oh, that's so funny. What are your thoughts on Iran? So Iran, we kind of talk about the same way we talk about Russia, which is that we obviously know it's not our ideal government structure internally, right? However, we understand that their government is a reaction, right, to the United States completely destroying that place. History of United States meddling and destabilization. And we recognize that they provide a necessary counterbalance against American imperialism to try to give us a multipolar world. So that's kind of how we feel about it. We have a very realistic, grounded, nuanced approach to understanding these places. Yeah, that's exactly David. Craigslist dad looking for a rich blonde girl with blue eyes to betray her rich parents' class. Yeah, that's David. But then David also, like, David likes the finer things, you know? So, David likes it when the rich girls take him to Nobu, stuff like that. I don't have a hammer and sickle tattoo. I wouldn't be opposed to it, you know? I don't know. Hello, Stans Master. Yay. Your commie sister married a landlord? What? That's wild. The washer's set up, but it's caused chaos. And there's so much to clean up now. It's like an explosion in my laundry room. So I have to deal with that at some point. I'm a little overwhelmed, but that's okay. We'll deal with it either tonight after work or something like that. Okay. So how many people are in here right now? My laundry room just like is because they took away my washer and dryer. We replaced it with a single unit washer dryer unit together. My washer and dryer I got on Craigslist, like one 10 years ago and one 5 years ago, and they were used both when I got them. They were really cheap. And when they break, I just repair them. It's like $200 every time. And usually they don't break that much, but my partner has lived with me for like 6 months, and randomly in the 6 months they've lived here, they've broken twice, like in a row. And my partner does not have a lot of work clothes because they have to cosplay very normie for work. So when it breaks, it's very stressful for them because they're like, I literally have no clothes. Like they cover up all their tattoos for work. It's like a very specific thing. So they finally were like, I can't deal with this anymore. I'm buying a brand new washer and dryer for the house. So they bought this combo unit. But when they took out the old units, first of all, there's so much junk like behind the washing machine that like you can't get to it to clean. So it's fucking filthy back there. There's also like random socks and stuff that fell off into the netherland behind it, the netherworld, right? So it's a mess. And then the thing is fucking tall and huge. So I have to move it to a different wall in the laundry room. So that means I have to take off a shelf to be able to put it in a position because it's fucking massive. It's like a whole thing. It's like a whole, bleh thing. Oh, is it bad? I know. I was thinking about Lola too. Lola's gonna hate it. Apparently it takes like 3 hours to do a load of laundry or something. Lola's not gonna like it, so I gotta talk to her when she comes over here. You know a person with Iranian friends who are so anti-current regime, and they brought it up to the last night. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to pretend like the Ayatollah and the theocracy is great, right? Like, I don't think anybody we know is like, we love that. But one of the things I think is really interesting is that I've talked about this before. A few years ago, there was this movement of young Iranian women who were on TikTok in particular, and they were like, we want to be free, like, we want to dress like Westerners, like, we want to be able to wear Western clothes. And their parents were like, you don't know what you're talking about, like, please stop saying that, blah, 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 blah. Because their parents lived through a US-backed dictator in Iran that literally forced people to wear Western clothing, made it illegal to wear traditional clothing, and forced them to wear Western clothing, like forced girls to wear mini skirts and shit against their will, like real creep shit. So their mothers who like lived through that were like, you don't want to be like the West. Stop doing this, please. And it's very, very interesting because you have to understand Iran in the historical context of where it came from and why, you know? Oh, you bought the book. Yay. Is the video still bad? I feel like every time I try to fix it, it gets worse. How many people are in here right now? Can you guys tell me? I'm going to start pulling up some stuff for us to keep reading. To keep learning together. $120? That's pretty good. I'm too white. It's too much. I can't fix that. You know that, right? I can't change it. I'm stuck with it. We're here. All right. Hold, please. They love that as a critique, though. I am a ghost. I don't think Instagram will have it. Ugh. I feel like I just have to do super political stuff on live stream on Twitch, because Twitch has told me they're cool with it, man. Because I talked to them about it. Yeah. Oh, it has Chavez and Maduro posters all over her room. That's awesome. Hassan waiting room has over 800 to 1,000, always 1 hour before the stream even starts. That's wild. Okay, well, I'm not Hassan. I have been Twitch streaming for just a couple weeks, and I'm happy if 100 people are in here when I start. So, you know, I don't know that we'll ever reach Hassan level of anything. I've never watched Hassan. I don't know why, what he does, what people like. I don't really understand. I've seen clips pop up on TikTok. Am I doing okay? I'm so sorry. I'm trying. Oh, okay. I'm going to look up. I think I've got a pretty good agenda for us today. I feel like I have a plan for us, is what I'm saying. But I'm still pulling it up. All the stuff. have to go to Alan McLeod's Twitter. He just posted it. I was like, fuck, I didn't know he had this from 2024, from when he did election monitoring. I have to find it. This Madeline agreed not to concurrently stream while Hassan does to not steal his viewers. Yeah. So true. Oh. Okay, I'm looking for this thing. Oh my god. McLeod tweets a lot. Oh no, I have to log in to see it. Oh, hold on. Yeah, Hassan and I haven't consumed a lot of each other's content, but yeah, people tried to get us to fight each other once, and we were like, we're not doing that. So we're muchy. Just because we didn't want to deal with it. I don't know anything about content though, so I know I have a lot of mutuals who hate Hassan's content. I don't know. I'm not gonna speak on that. Okay. I am looking for, oh. Yes. Okay, hold on. We're doing it. Everything's happening exactly the way I thought it should. Except... yeah, as a content creator, I don't consume content. Oh my god, my light died. Oh my god, I have no light. I have to charge it. Hold on, I'm gonna get it. This is my first time having to charge it. I don't know if this is the right one or not, but let's see. Oh, the cord's actually pretty long on this charger. Oh my god, the Blue MAGA creators are going full mask off and just being like, we needed to invade Venezuela forever ago? Is that for real? I mean, I shouldn't be surprised, but why am I surprised? But I am surprised. They're psychos. They're freaks. They're like demons. The Blue MAGA people are demonic. It's wild to watch how quickly they gave in to the rhetoric, though. I thought they would hold out a little bit more. I thought they'd be on their, like, fucking fake peacenik bullshit a little longer. They're just full-on Warhawk mode. But you know what? I should have guessed. This is what they did during War on Terror, too. We're back. We're let. Hold on. Oh, yeah. We can invade France, Child of the Reach. Yes. Yes. My people are French. I say it's cool, man. You can nuke France. That's okay with me. Listen to French people. Do not speak over us. You can nuke France. French and German. You can also nuke Germany. You can nuke them both. I'm going to say fuck it. You can nuke them both. I speak for all of them. I'm almost ready with all this stuff pulled up. Okay. And then I'm just finding where we left off in the book yesterday to talk specifically about the 2013 elections and 2014. So this is page 58. Yep. We're so back. We're so back, baby. We're ready. Yeah, you're allowed to speak for Denmark and Norway and Germany. All right. Okay. Are we good? We got over 100 people in here, right? Right. Yes. We're good? I think we'll just start. Should we just start today? Let's just start. All right. 140. Cool. Okay, yay. All right. So today we're not going to do a vote on what to talk about because we're going to carry on what we were talking about yesterday. We got cut off because I had to do my volunteer work. So where we were talking about yesterday, we were talking about Maduro and Venezuela. And just as a recap, what we discussed yesterday was we were establishing that there is a track record and a history of the United States attempting to delegitimize the socialist leadership of Venezuela. This started with Chavez, and we will see today in particular that they carry it through with Maduro. So these claims that Maduro is a dictator who stole the election in Venezuela, he's not the rightful leader, he's an evil bad man doing evil bad man things, this doesn't come out of nowhere. This is part of a long history of us lobbying these claims at absolutely every single person who's been a leader in Venezuela ever that basically didn't want to give us access to cheap oil. Chairman for Liberate Ireland. Love this poll. And it's not just socialist leaders. Sometimes it would be pretty milquetoast leaders, but we have a track record of basically trying to acquire oil from Venezuela free of charge or very, very cheap since 1908. So we were looking at Alan McLeod's book, Bad News from Venezuela, 20 Years of Fake News and I think Misinformation is the title. And what he was basically establishing was the history of how politics were immediately before Chavez came into power in 1998. And the history was basically what we have here in the United States. It was a two-party system. The two parties conspired with each other to keep everybody else out of politics. 95% yes. Who voted no? That's my question. Who voted no to fork liberating Ireland? This was basically a system where the people felt held hostage by these two political parties that didn't represent them. Very similar to the United States today. And they reported very low satisfaction with democracy in Venezuela. They did not feel that their government represented them. They thought that it was very corrupt. So in 1998, they voted for a major shift, and they voted in Hugo Chavez, who had actually been in prison for trying to assassinate one of the leaders of the old style of quote-unquote democracy that they were doing in Venezuela. And we, of course, know that when the United States talks about democracy and freedom, they're really talking about capitalism and the free markets, right? And we see that because the United States praised these leaders before Chavez, who the people of Venezuela felt were completely corrupt and did not represent them, and they felt they had no democracy, right? The United States, the West in general, but especially the United States, always was saying the opposite about these leaders. They were like, no, you have great democracy, you have functioning democracy, everything in Venezuela is going so great, you're so lucky, it's good. Now, when Chavez was elected, he was like, we're doing socialism. And he started changing a lot of things around the country, and that included their election systems. And after he changed the election systems, the people in Venezuela reported feeling way more satisfied with their electoral process. They felt more represented. They felt that their elections were actually more fair. They felt that they had more democracy than they had before Chavez. But the West, and in particular the United States, did not report it that way, despite all empirical evidence showing that people in Venezuela were happier with this system and felt it was more democratic. Western media still reported the complete opposite. They were like, well, it used to be so great, and now they have a dictator and they have no democracy. So from the jump, they were calling Chavez a dictator. And that's important because them calling Maduro a dictator is nothing new. It's part of this whole line of what they're basically doing to delegitimize the socialist government. So that was kind of the backstory that we were getting into yesterday. There's something else I also want to talk about. Hold on, I'm going to pull it up for later. Before we get into it. Maybe we can start with this as a little treat, actually. We'll start with some pulp, some news pulp. Today, relevant, this news story, yesterday, I guess, was picking up steam yesterday afternoon and evening, and it is pro-Maduro motorcycle gang thugs hunting for Trump supporters in Caracas, days after dictator's capture. Very tense. New York Post is obviously just like tabloid trash. But this story was basically very, very popular last night and this morning in the news cycle. And a lot of people are trying to use this to show that Maduro is in fact a dictator. Can you believe that these people who are pro-Maduro are running through the streets trying to abduct Trump supporters? And it's really hard because most normal people are looking at this like, I don't know, it seems kind of like cool and like it makes sense, right? And the reason people are thinking this, you know, it's twofold. It's number one, I talked about this on my TikTok stream a little bit, but literally, ghost in the cell. Exactly. They are capturing traitors. So number one, these are literally people who try to overthrow their government and replace it with a foreign power. Okay. This is, of course, this is what they would do. Yeah. And the United States and the Western world really just expects these other countries to lay down and let us take over their countries. They expect to just, okay, do whatever you want. Take over my country if you want. We won't push back. Of course, they're getting rid of people who were trying to have their country taken over by another country. So the example I was giving when I was talking about this earlier is, can you imagine for a second, North Korea bombs Boston. They go bomb Boston. They come on into the United States. They kidnap Donald Trump while he's sleeping. They bring him back to North Korea, and they make him do this show trial for crimes he's committed. Not even real shit, by the way. Let's say they are like, you trafficked wild animals across state lines. You're an exotic animal breeder, whatever. And that is something that just happened. What do you think MAGA Trump supporters would do? Do you think this would not be the moment they'd actually been waiting for, right? They got 17 guns they've been collecting at home just for this moment. They don't even know how to fire them, right? I mean, they're like, lock and loaded, boys. This is the action movie where I can be a hero that I've been fantasizing about this whole time. They would get on their motorcycles. They'd jump in their lifted pickup trucks with their gun racks, and they would be driving all across the United States, rounding up the commies, rounding up every commie you would find. And what's more, the federal government here would definitely deputize them in this pursuit, right? There would be a Netflix documentary honoring them as freedom fighters, and then there would be a big budget action movie that had that guy from The Office in it as the star. Like, not only would we do this exact same thing if we were in the same position, it would be honored in our culture. It would be considered brave, like the right thing to do. So the idea that Venezuela is not supposed to go round up the people who supported a foreign country invading them and stealing their president and bombing them is just such a double standard, and the biggest hypocritical moment, like, of this whole ordeal, maybe. Like, of course. Now, the second thing that this makes me think of is, hydrate. I have to get water. Ooh, hold on. Wait. Okay, I'm back. I'm back with water. Look, water. Okay, sorry. Okay, so the second thing in all of this, oh my God, how many are there now? Fuck. Oh my God. Oh, it's starting. Okay, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 to Danaway. Yeah, they waterboard me daily. It's the only water intake I have all day. They force me to hydrate. It's good for me. I need it. Hydrate. Okay, hold on. Where did I leave off? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, I have 9 more up to Treacherous Hope that I'm doing. Yeah, I'm going to do that thing where I become immune to a waterboarding because I practiced at home. Do you know people who do that? I got to do it right away or I'll forget. Okay. Okay, so that was point one. Point two about all of this is the Democratic Party has been telling us, quite literally, Donald Trump is Hitler. They're like, Donald Trump is the most uniquely bad man that ever bad manned. No bad man has ever bad manned like Donald Trump. He is Hitler. He is the most evil man ever. He is a unique entity that must be destroyed. Okay? And then what happens? He gets into office and they like wear pink shirts for a couple of days and hold up a sign and that's all they got. That's all they do. So these guys, I'm sorry, a motorcycle gang roaming the streets, abducting Trump supporters. You expect us to hate that? Like, if he's really Hitler, this is what we expected Democrats to do, right? Like, you're standing up to Hitler, babes. Get on your fucking motorcycle, grab a gun, go vroom vroom. Like, this is the reaction that would be justified if you believed that he was really a unique evil entity in the world, hell-bent on bringing full-blown fascism to the United States, and not just another bad man in an endless string of bad men that is an inevitable byproduct, right, of U.S. capitalism. So this is what's very perplexing to me. Yeah, okay, this person says, thoughts on our president being a blackmailed puppet president? Could it really be Israel or Russia? First time chat? No, I don't think that's happening. I think he's just like a normal conservative president who is more flamboyant with his language. And this idea that we're supposed to think of him as this uniquely bad man is very disturbing, because what that's really saying is that you need to ignore all of the United States history. You have to ignore our complete... Hold on. Let me fix this really fast. It's bugging me. There we go. Okay, sorry. You have to ignore our complete history of white supremacy, of brutality, of destabilization of foreign nations. You have to ignore everything bad the Democrats have ever done. And you have to suspend disbelief to believe that he is this uniquely bad thing, when in reality, this is the natural byproduct of capitalism. Like, George W. Bush was this bad. Richard Nixon was this bad. Ronald Reagan was this bad. Like, they're all this bad. So, yeah, this idea that Democrats spent all this time telling us that he's literally Hitler, you expect us to get mad at people rounding up the SS in their backyard? Like, I'm not getting mad at that, babes. Like, this looks fucking badass to me. I don't know about you guys, but I'm like, hell yeah, fight the good fight. A caravan of armed men on motorcycles drive through the streets of Caracas. Like, that makes sense to me based on everything I've heard. So very, very interesting that this is how they're positioning it, right? Obama was this bad. Obama was this bad. Like, they're all this bad. Exactly. I just thought that this story was really, really funny because people are sharing it like, can you believe this? Like, yes, I can believe a foreign nation that we just invaded is going through their streets, rounding up their invaders, sympathizers, and collaborators and holding them accountable. Yes, I can believe that. Yes. And if we had a real opposition party in the United States who was actually horrified and outraged by things like violence, imperialism, white supremacy, the list goes on, they'd probably be doing this to Trump supporters too. But we don't have that. We have Trump light, right? The Democratic Party is Trump light. Like, they're Repubo light. And the only thing that's light about them is their rhetoric. That's the only thing that's light about them is their rhetoric. Like, they're not materially different. So, I don't know. I just thought this was so hilarious. Yeah, Democrats think the motorcycle gang is bad. They're like, can you believe these people? Like, yes. Yes, I can. Like, what? But yeah, this is hilarious to me. So, Democrats and Republicans are both really mad about this. Diet Republicans, exactly. So this is our little treat of funny, weird, like, they look cool as fuck. Like, how am I supposed to hate this? Like, what? Great. awesome. They're stopping people and checking their phones and cars to see if they collaborated with the United States to overthrow their own government. Like, good. Firouzja Balk, the dad walking. Yeah, that's my celebrity lookalike I got. It's Firouzja Balk. That was the only one for years and years of my life. And the other one is the person who played Love in You. I get that one sometimes. Who are these Trump supporters? Wealthy Venezuelans who are anti-nationalist? Well, yes. So 9% of people in Venezuela supported Machado. And it's worth noting, Chavez's policies were really good for the majority of the country. The same policies Maduro's carrying forward. They were bad for only the top 10% of income earners, or not even income earners, of the richest people, basically, in Venezuela. So for the top 10%, they lost wealth in the redistribution. So 9% of Venezuela supports Machado. So you get this idea that basically 1 in 10 Venezuelans who's better off, usually of European descent, speaks English. 20% of Venezuela speaks English. So those would be your English speakers. They would profit basically from a switch away from a socialist model to a more business-oriented capitalist model. They have more assets, though it's that kind of people. It's this 10% group of Venezuela causing this harm basically to everybody else because they want to bring back capitalism so they can profit. And also, there's people from that group are the ones usually who leave and come to the United States and are part of the diaspora now. It's them and their kids settled in Miami. They're deeply conservative. They're very conservative and right-wing usually, who are the ones being like, we're so happy this is happening. And it's like, of course you are, you sick fucks. Like, what? You're ghouls. Like, oh, yay, the poors are dying back home so we can go back soon and exploit them. Like, it's monstrous behavior. So, all right. This is just our little thing. If Kamala wasn't just as bad as Trump, then maybe she shouldn't have said it herself. Exactly. I'm going to show you guys actually one other kind of trash thing. This is our other trash content to consume before we get into reading. I'm going to go to my own Twitter because I reposted this, so I know it's in there. The White House tweeted something, actually, about this. I don't know if you guys are on Twitter. I know most people aren't. I've just been there. I've been there for years. I'll show you guys this. Look, like my Twitter. I've been on Twitter since 2011, so this is like, you're not going to take it from me at this point, right? So I'm not verified. They keep trying. We're not doing it. This is something that the White House tweeted, and I think it's really, really interesting. We must annex Miami. Aid call, where are you from? I support it. Gusano Tel Aviv was promised to them 30 minutes ago. Take it. Okay, you've been on here too for forever, Jamie. All right, yeah, that makes sense. So, the White House tweeted this. Democrats have switched their tune on Maduro and Venezuela, while President Trump is the one taking action. And it's like, okay, wait, I don't think it's cool he's taking action. Fuck this. Fuck them both. But what follows is, when you're right, you're right. When you're right, you're right. So let's take a look at this. Senator Chuck Schumer. Then, this is like before the Trump presidency, and the president brags about his Venezuela policy. Give us a break. He hasn't brought an end to the Maduro regime. The Maduro regime is more powerful today and more entrenched today than it was when the president began. Now, this is reckless. And the American people are just this morning in fear of what's going to happen here. Okay, so this is the Democrats being completely fucking inconsistent on their messaging on Venezuela. All of them would have done the same fucking thing. I'm working on this timeline of events basically for the volunteer work I'm doing about the history of intervention in Venezuela being a bipartisan issue. I don't know if you guys know this. I volunteer on the Megan Adams campaign. She's a Marxist-Leninist running for state controller on a Leninist model of political engagement out here in California. So we're working to put together a text post that's about how this is a bipartisan issue, and Democrats and Republicans have both led to this. So that's kind of what's going on here. It's like Democrats were supporting increasing fucking bounty on Nicolas Maduro's head. Democrats were issuing massive sanctions against Venezuelan people to put them into poverty and literally killed them. The sanctions literally killed like over 100,000 people. So this is what the White House is pointing out the hypocrisy on. So then we have Elizabeth Warren, right? Everybody's progressive favorite, not so progressive. She said, Maduro is a dictator and a crook. The United States should lead the international community in addressing Venezuela's humanitarian crisis created by the Democratic Party and supporting regional efforts to negotiate a political transition. into capitalism so we can have their oil. Senator fucking Warren said that. People loved her. They thought she was so progressive. Now, the American people voted for lower costs, not for Trump's dangerous military adventurism overseas that won't make the American people safer. Like, babe, you wanted dangerous military adventurism overseas. You're literally advocating for regime change in this sentence here. I'm going to see if I can't really make it bigger. I'm so sorry. Let me see if I can like pull up just the image bigger for you guys. Here we go. This is better. I'll open all of them like this before we get into them so you can read along. There's so many of them. I'm like, this is petty as fuck, but they're right. Okay, let's see if this is that. Yeah, here we go. So here's the Elizabeth Warren one bigger. Oh, I'll pin it, Virgo. I got you. Thank you for joining us on my wall and still showing up to help. I was thinking, Virgo, actually, about how much I appreciate you. Yesterday, I took myself to get a special treat after work because I had a really stressful day. I went to Plant Power, and it's like a 30-minute drive. And on the drive, I was like, I appreciate Virgo so much for helping me with my Twitch thing. Okay, so thank you. Yeah, so here we go. Literally, she's here saying that we need a political transition. That's regime change, babe. That is military adventurism overseas. What do you think a political transition is? She's advocating for fucking regime change. Wild. Okay, so then they've got Senator Dick Durbin, right? I love Plant Power. I hope they're not evil because I love them. Then Dick Durbin, we can't allow this president's short attention span to stop us from delivering on our promise to help the Venezuelan people rebuild their country. Like, that's also regime change. Is that not regime change? What are we doing to their country? What are we doing? Plant Power is a fast food chain in California that's all vegan. Now, I disagree with President Trump's use of U.S. military forces without congressional approval and worry deeply about this administration's follow-through on foreign policy interventions. So he's not even saying he's mad. He's just like, you should have gotten congressional approval first. We matter too. It's like, you don't give a fuck, Dick Durbin. You don't care about this shit. You're just looking for something to complain about. Red team, blue team bullshit, whatever. So then we've got Senator Tim Kaine. This is a deeply concerning development for Venezuelans and for the entire region, since instability abroad impacts us here at home too. This is about, obviously, Chavez and Maduro, right? He's like, that's instability. Now, President Trump's unauthorized military attack on Venezuela to arrest Maduro is a sickening return to a day when the United States asserted the right to dominate the internal political affairs of all nations in the Western Hemisphere. I'm to raise Tim Kaine. If you weren't trying to dominate the internal political affairs of all nations in the Western Hemisphere, why are you fucking talking about this as being some deeply disturbing thing happening in Venezuela when they had a democratic election and they elected a socialist? Like, what? Senator Tim Kaine. And then we have Senator Chris Van Hollen. Then, obviously, we know Maduro and his cronies do not want to go quietly into the night. But the United States needs to work with its partners and allies in the region to ratchet up the pressure. You are advocating for regime change, Senator Chris Van Hollen. This is what you want. You're like, the United States needs to... Like, if we wrote this sentence, basically, to be honest, and we just used synonyms that weren't highly politicized for this, it would be, obviously we know Maduro and his obviously we know the democratically elected leader of that country and his administration do not want to let us take over their country and steal their natural resources. But the United States needs to get our allies together and pressure them and apply whatever pressure we should to get them to just give us their oil and do whatever the fuck we want. That's what this sentence is really saying. This is what this sentence is saying. And then he says, it is an illegal act of war to replace Maduro. Like, what were you advocating for? Were you just going to show up and act nice? What do you think ratcheting up the pressure is? What did that mean to you, Senator Chris Van Hollen? Like, it's wild. Okay, then we've got Representative Jamie Raskin. Sorry. The democratic world must stand up for the rule of law in Venezuela and oppose Maduro's assault on the electoral process and free speech. Just full on calling him a dictator who stole the election. Now, Trump is not only violating our constitution, but he is shredding the rules-based international order created after World War II. What did he think standing up for the rule of law in Venezuela was? What did he think that was? What was he advocating for when he said that? More sanctions, maybe. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe they're like, well, no, we're just going to sanction a whole bunch. Remember, Democrats increased the bounty that Trump placed on Maduro's head. Trump administration 1, bounty. I think it was $15 million. Biden upped it, $25 million. Trump upped it again, $50 million. And this is what I mean. These fucking presidents are just yes-anding the last guy before them. That's all the ratchet effect is. You guys know the ratchet effect, obviously. Republicans make things more fucked. Democrats prevent it from rolling back. Whatever the last guy did, they're just going to yes-and it. Military budget? Yeah, we'll do the same one and more, right? Bounty? Yeah, we'll do that too, but more. Yeah. Sanctions? Oh yeah, we'll do that. We'll just do more. More. And that is literally how these guys work, regardless of what team they're on. Then the last one is Senator Amy Klobuchar. Then I have, of course, supported bringing in the new president and delegitimizing the Maduro government. She's literally like, I have, of course, supported regime change in Venezuela. I want regime change in Venezuela. That's what she's saying. No, I didn't know that there's a person doing a 6-part rebuttal. Ew, who is it? Does it have traction? Do I need to look at it? Blech. Blech. With Ned and State Department sources, I'm sure. Oh, God. Yeah. Okay, anyway. So then now, all of a sudden, Amy Klobuchar strongly opposes sending American forces into harm's way in Venezuela without authorization from Congress. Congress has to authorize the slaughter of the American poors and the military, right? Wars for regime change can lead to unintended consequences. You were advocating for regime change. Absolutely wild. So yeah, that I think is another very interesting, fun, trashy thing going on. I can't believe the White House made that, first of all. That's very funny to me that they did that. Very sassy and bitchy and immature and childish, but like, when you're right, you're right. And they were right. Democrats are being total fucking hypocrites about that. Oh, it's Danny North Korea. Oh yeah, Danny North Korea is the first person I've ever actually suspected of being a Fed. When I joined the app 5 years ago, I blocked Danny North Korea, so they have to watch my videos from an alt account, which is creeper behavior. I actually blocked them though, because I'm like, this is so creepy. This person is using only State Department propaganda sources. They exclusively use, and they make videos being like, the only sources you should trust on North Korea, 38 North. They used to say Radio Free Asia. We actually bullied them out of saying Radio Free Asia, thank God. 38 North, NK News, Daily NK. Like, they literally are like, that's all you should, that's it. All of those are funded by the U.S. government. Every single one. So yeah, they're super Fed behavior. They're a fucking weird loser. Yeah, they just use like the eyes and lips filter. They're full of shit. Like, agents of misinformation, disinformation. Absolutely wild. Oh, you're late. Hi, Bell. Yes, yeah. Danny North Korea. Real weirdo energy on that one. And Yeonmi Park. We did get her to stop using Radio Free Asia, though. That was something. Okay, are they? Is it new? Should I look? I have them blocked. So I'm like, I'm gonna look to see if there's any heat coming my way from them. I feel like all of Danny's followers know. She always tries to debunk me. And it's always just the weirdest stuff. Like, she's the one that used Kids Britannica to try to debunk me once. Which is wild. I'm looking. Okay, yeah, no. I haven't gotten any heat yet. I feel like everybody just knows already. Ooh, we have a Christian in the chat. Yeah, Danny's a weirdo. Rents probably do, exactly. Their current page is covered in your shit. Oh my God, they're so fucking annoying. And they know I don't respond to them. That's why these people do it. They know I don't respond to them. That's it. Yeah. That's our first proselytizer. Yeah, we got our first Christian. Fork, what are you doing? Come here. Hi, come here. Come on, little one. Come here. Let's see. This is a not visual version of it, but yes. The one I was pulling up was on Twitter. They tweeted it. So if you look at the White House's Twitter, that's what that is. Fork just came in, looked at me, and walked away. I don't know what she's up to. Okay, thanks, Virgo. You only get one proselytize in the chat. Everybody choose wisely. Our chairman is tired. Okay, so that brings us to the 2013 elections. This is where we're going to pick up from yesterday. So Chavez dies in 2013. Maduro, interim leader, steps in, was vice president, right, becomes interim leader, and then they hold an election. And Maduro runs for office. So the Venezuelan opposition generally accepts that the electoral process in Venezuela is clean, that it's above board. Vicente Diaz, who's the senior opposition member of the Venezuelan Electoral Council, the CNE, said he had no doubts about the veracity of the election results. However, it charged that the CNE is biased and the government uses state resources to tip the balance of power in favor by funding its election campaigns, using the state's vast array of media networks to pump out propaganda. So that's what the opposition said. They're like, the elections are real, but the Venezuelan government is saying nice things about the Venezuelan government. And it's like, yeah, that makes sense to me. And they also said that it pressured hundreds of thousands of state employees to vote for the Chavistas. That opinion is put forward by those at the critical end of the academic spectrum, such as Name, who claims that the government uses an array of dirty tricks, such as buying votes and shutting down critical television channels. This was also said by Corrales and Penfold, who state die-hard loyalists of the government are placed at top-level positions in state offices, such as the courts, thereby undermining the systems of checks and balances. So this was the extent of the allegations of corruption that were lobbied against Chavez and then Maduro by their political opponents. So can you imagine Kamala Harris, Donald Trump? This is the extent of the bad stuff. Can you imagine Kamala Harris gets on a stage and is just like, well, Donald Trump is using government influence and giving people good jobs to try to convince them to vote for him. So that's the extent of the negativity about the election that was said, okay? Yeah, exactly. Buying votes and it's just using taxpayer funds and nationalized profits to help the populace. Exactly. So, yeah, this is the same one as yesterday for everybody who was here. It's the Bad News from Venezuela book. We're continuing on part 2. It is on the Venezuela resource doc as well. Let me add it to my link tree, even though it's like very incomplete. And I'm going to add stuff for my podcast probably too. Will it show up? I have to go to my Google Docs. What if there's something private? I don't even know what could be private. I just share Google Docs with a lot of people. So I'm like, I want you guys to see somebody else's stuff. Okay. I've got this. I'm adding it to my link tree to show my login to my link tree. You guys could log in as me on Linktree, and then you could upload a bunch of salacious links, like to Taiwanese BDSM clubs, or Thai, or maybe it was Thai. I can't remember from the Uyghur genocide. False claims. Hey Fleckies, today we are continuing a 3-part so far series on Maduro and the elections. So resource docs, let's see. I feel like I have to add more to it to put it in here. Wait, sorry, I'm adding it. Link. A regular link is fine. I'm going to see really fast while I'm doing this if I can add more sources on here too, just because I don't want to do this for an incomplete list. You know what I mean? I think I have my original sources from my podcast episode. And I'm just going to make a section that says general resource dump. I haven't organized yet. Apologies. Okay. So if you go to my link tree, you can access this document now and see the resources. And the one we're talking about today is the one that's linked as number 2. So that's what we're doing right now. Okay. All right. Yeah, I think for the Uyghur thing, the thing I always tell people before we get back on track here is just to look at this one map. Docs. We'll pull it up. I think it's okay. Hold on, I gotta find it. Let's It's Ukraine. I have one on Ukraine and Russia as well. Okay, so I do have this resource document in my link tree about researching the Uyghur. Oh, your friend is like, they hate me. The anarcho-communists hate me because I used to be one of them. It was funny, too, is they're always like, you didn't read the theory. You don't know what it actually is. And I'm like, okay, tell me what it actually is then. And they're like, and I'm like, because it's an ideology based on rejecting things, not based on building things. It's all about things you don't like. It's not what you actually want to do, right? Yeah, it's very interesting. Okay, so this is a pretty good one. And I always say if you only show people one thing, people who are more lib-minded, right? People who are like, I care a lot about people of color, about Muslim people, about oppression. If that is where their mind is, there's one thing you can show them. I'm looking for it. Da, 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 da. Sorry. Ah! Fuck, where is this thing? Here it is. I'm so sorry. Okay. This is a map of all of the countries that support China in terms of their treatment of the Uyghur people, and all of the countries that support the United States in our claim that they are doing genocide against the Uyghurs. Okay? This is the one thing I recommend if you can make anybody look at. All right? Yeah, mutual aid is not building things. Mutual aid is, responding to things. It's like, I don't know. I guess it is kind of building. I don't know. It could be kind of building, but it's, that's not like an ideology, right? Mutual aid's not an ideology. So this is in blue. Here you can see countries opposing China's Xinjiang policies. Okay. And we can zoom in so you can see that's what it says over here. Countries opposing Xinjiang policies. Red is countries supporting China's Xinjiang policies. That's where the Uyghurs are. All of the blue countries are white people and our weird allies like Japan. Japan's, everybody knows now Japan's fucked up and fascist and weird, right? Okay. So it's all the white people countries and our weird fucking allies. All right? We're the ones that are like China bad. All of the countries supporting China are the not white people countries mostly, right? And predominantly the countries that have a large Muslim population also support China's policies. So if you want to side with people of color, with Muslims, they are all siding with China. The only people siding with us is Canada, Europe, the current kind of right-wing Latin American countries, Australia, and Japan. And this is based on letters written to the UN in support of and denouncing China for their Xinjiang policies. So, this I think is the one thing. And this is what I recommend. And you can find this yourself. You can search the letters, search UN support and denounce China's Xinjiang policies letters or something like that, because people wrote letters about this. And this is what I would see. Very, very interesting. So that's what I recommend for anybody who has a friend to be like. And also, if you have a super liberal friend, it helps to be like, hey, that's like a conspiracy theory started by Donald Trump, right? That's like a Donald Trump racist conspiracy about Asian people and Muslim people. And they respond well to that too. And they're not going to believe you. And then you'd be like, yeah, no, if you look at the countries who support this, it's just a bunch of white people countries. And that works pretty well, I think. So, yeah, that's what I recommend there. All right, so back on the topic at hand, and that claim actually you can find that in the background on the Xinjiang region and my Uyghur resource doc on my page. Okay, so back on this. we're getting into the 2013 election. Now, the Chavistas, remember, Chavez was very popular. Do you guys remember yesterday? Chavez had like a 72% approval rating. People loved him. And the people from the countrysides, the rural poor, they especially loved him. And the people who loved him, we called them Chavistas, right? So the Chavista framing of this, according to McLeod, is, in contrast, the Venezuelan government highlights the technical achievements of the electoral system and its transparency and sophistication. And if you were here yesterday on the live stream, we went through their electoral system, didn't we? We read that all together, didn't we? And it's very, very developed in advance. They have fingerprint scanning, they have an electronic ballot and a paper ballot match, they have election monitoring. It's one of the biggest, kind of election monitoring situations because so many people from different parties are watching it. It's a very secure election system. So, the government categorized the elections as free and fair and a model for the region to follow, and other people tended to agree in Latin America. It notes that Venezuelan elections are among the most carefully monitored in the world, which is true, by election monitoring bodies and outside observers who attest to the robustness of the system, its openness, and its transparency. In total contrast to the opposition narrative, the Chavistas claim the opposition has a great advantage in the election process, as the vast majority of media networks are in private hands and are highly critical of the government, even fomenting a coup in 2002. And if you were with us on Monday, we talked about that, how the majority of media is publicly owned by rich guys, so they're going to advance the rich guy narrative, much like here in the United States, and the rich guy narrative always supports the U.S.-backed opposition candidates. And the Chavistas, for example, the socialists, they just use the public media, which is not as prominent. So the Chavistas also say that the opposition is funded and supported by Washington, which is true. That is true. We are paying massive amounts of money to their opposition candidates. Therefore, the media are active participants in protecting the country from further democratization. Academics sympathetic to the government highlight the great number of elections in Venezuela that Chavez won. Bott notes that Chavez won 14 elections in 13 years, which he characterizes as free and fair, all of them. Karasik argues that the election system is unfairly maligned, characterizing it as one of the most efficient, secure, and transparent electoral systems in the world. These two interpretations of Venezuelan elections starkly contrast. There was a similarly wide reaction to the results of the election of Capriles protestation. So that was the guy who ran against him in the beginning. So, sorry to derail again. Dad walking. I feel like black shirts, okay. I like black shirts and reds. I think it's good. I think it's good to learn about the history of how far anti-communization efforts go. It is kind of an easier, fast read. You can probably get through it pretty quick. I think it's good. I feel like looking at William Blum is a good entry level. I always recommend people read William Blum first as an entry level text to get an understanding of how far reaching our foreign meddling is. So Killing Hope is the book that's basically like a short anthology of a bunch of different destabilization attempts the U.S. levied against different countries. And from there, I also recommend people read Carl Bernstein's On the Media, which we could do one day. Actually, it's an article. We could do it one day on live stream. So I would say that you either do black shirts and reds, that's good, or if you want something in a similar vein about foreign policy and anti-communization efforts, similarly, William Blum's work is a good base, but it's not explicitly communist. It's just like, wow, the United States is fucked up, if that makes sense. Oh, thank you so much, Bisco Witch, for sharing. I do have a reading list. Yes, it's also in my link tree. And I recommend people go in order. Oh, okay. Hi, Starburst. You're very new to all this. You truly want to learn more about communism. You want to read the Communist Manifesto, but you don't know if that's a proper place to start. Well, welcome. We're a good place to get started. And what I usually recommend people read is something else called Principles of Communism from 1847. And I think it's super easy to read. If you Google it, you can find it super easily. I also have a link tree on my link tree. It should be in my links and everything. And it has a reading list in it that you can do in order. So I definitely would recommend that. And maybe one day, if you stick around, maybe one day this week or something, or next week, we can do a read through of Principles of Communism for people who are new and want to learn more. I think that would be fun. But that's really where I recommend you start. And it's easy to read. It's like a question and answer kind of format and very quick. So don't be too afraid of it. And you can stick around and we can talk. We're talking about anti-imperialism, which is an important part of a socialist and communist outlook. So that's what we're doing today. So we're talking about Venezuela in that context. I also agree. Big Gatco. Yeah, there's a lot of anti-communist propaganda. Yeah, definitely. That's the main reason you think it's bad is because the Western world spends a lot of money making you think it's bad. Local communist on TikTok just posted a full reading of principles with explanations. I love local communist. I actually saw him once in person in Los Feliz. We like saw each other and we're like, wait. It was pretty funny. Yeah, he's cool. All your nation's biggest leftist parties are their anti-LGBT socialists or reformist democratic socialists. Yes. That's like wild. There's one which isn't explicitly homophobic. Most of its members are. Oh, God. The Progressive Marxist Party has less than 500 members, but isn't anywhere near you. I feel like you'd have more luck with the reformist democratic socialists dragging them kicking and screaming than the anti-LGBT socialists, because they're just going to be chauvinists, you know? But that's a really tough situation to be in. Oh, nice. Virgo's Rain. Love. Thank you. Everybody check out Virgo's primer on principles of communism. Do I think that being right and middle is worse than being far left? No, I'm very far left, though, so that's my bias. My politics are as far left as you can get. Yeah. So, all right, we're going to get back on track with our Venezuela convo. All right. So, international reactions to the election. So 2013, the elections come about to not legitimize, I guess, but to actually see if Maduro is going to be the real president or just do the interim since Chavez died. The Union of South American Nations came out strongly in favor of Maduro in the elections. On April 19th, it congratulated the Venezuelan people and recognized Maduro as the rightful president. Furthermore, it urged Capriles, the opposition, to respect the results and the CNE and demanded that the violent protests desist. Because remember, people were mad. So something people also don't know is that the opposition, the extreme right wing in Venezuela, who is that 10% of people, for example, 9% who support Machado, right? The 10% who lost some money under Chavez because it was redistributed. They are very right wing. I mean, we all have a right wing in our countries, right? If you live in the United States, think MAGA, level right wing. They literally at protests would light black people on fire. Because they'd be like, you're black, you probably support Chavez, and they would light them on fire. Like, these are very, very, very deranged, demonic right-wing people. So when they say that the opposition party's candidates were, like, doing protests, like, it's violent, bad stuff. So this is why the Union of South American Nations urged, basically, these right-wing fascist supporters of the opposition candidate to stop their violent protests, because they were really, really, really bad. So that's important to know. A great number of other countries, such as Mexico, Canada, and Russia, quickly recognized Maduro and basically shunned the opposition guy. In contrast, the United States did not recognize Maduro's victory. White House spokesperson Jay Carney stood with the opposition candidate Capriles in his calls for a 100% audit, declaring it a prudent and necessary step. Spain also initially took this reaction. We talked about this a little bit. We did a brief run through yesterday, right? But then they saw everybody else siding with Maduro, and then they were like, never mind, we side with Maduro too. We actually never said that. If you think we said that, you're wrong, because we literally never said that. We have always sided with Maduro. So they gaslit everybody about being weird first. Very interesting. And then we talked about how the Venezuelan playwright and intellectual called the opposition candidate Capriles a fascist creep and an ultra super reactionary. So they're like, you know, people throughout Venezuela are like, that guy's a freak. He's a creep. He's a weirdo. He's evil. We do not support him. So the only people who supported this guy really were the 9 to 10% of Venezuelans, right? I'm sure he did better numbers than 9 to 10%, but you know, like, it's not a large portion of the population, and the United States. Okay, so we have all the empirical evidence that we talked about basically how the election system was found to have no significant problems and to be one of the most transparent elections in the country's history even. And that was after Chavez had made all of these reforms to really make the transparency of the election systems even better and more robust. And also people commented on the media, noting there was great diversity of political opinions. There's the Carter Center, which people often cite in the 2024 elections. They even, for this one, had to acknowledge that the Venezuelan election system was fine. We're going to talk about what they talk about in this upcoming election, too, because that's what people usually cite when they say that he stole the elections. And Latino Barometro, which we talked about, found that 83% of Venezuelans believed elections to be fraudulent before Chavez, but after Chavez, those numbers kind of flipped, and 56% of the population said their elections became good and clean and trustworthy. So the electoral system in Venezuela, from starting with Chavez from the late 90s all the way through the early 2000s, was found to be very, very solid and trustworthy. Capriles called for an audit because he was like, I don't accept the results. And then he boycotted his own audit. We talked about that a little bit. Now, we talked about the media, right? How the media reporting thing, the privately owned business kind of media, the for-profit media, was really riding hard for the opposition candidates. And we could see, here's the private media assessment of Nicolas Maduro. Most of it was negative. The lightest color here is negative. Okay, 54% of what private media said about Nicolas Maduro was negative. The public media, the state assessment, 93% was positive. The private media's assessment of the guy that was called a fascist creep, 60% of it was positive. The state media, the majority was negative. It was 91%. I was like, why is it so little down there? They didn't need to make it that little. Sorry, I got distracted. So anyway, this is what was kind of going on. So it really was a huge split between private and public media. Now, this talks about Capriles. We talked about this a little, how he was positioned as being even like a democratic socialist, like a moderate guy. But in actuality, he was an extremely far-right fascist weirdo trying to capitalize on the fact that people liked socialism and they liked Chavez. So we'll see this happens a lot. A lot of political candidates that are extremely far-right wing will try to be sold to the people as though they are more progressive. And if you live in the United States, you probably have some examples of that happening here as well that you can think of, right? That's why so many liberals here in the United States think they are voting for progressive candidates. They're like, AOC and Bernie Sanders are progressive socialist candidates. And you're like, they literally want to fund the Iron Dome in Israel. Like, that is not a progressive candidate. But that's why, because all the marketing pitch, the sales pitch to get these people undone. Exactly. So the analysis of the 2013 elections was that they were good. Remember, the United States was like, no, they're not, right? Everybody else was like, yes, they are. They're fine. So this is, again, another kind of thing about the track record of the United States standing alone in thinking that these elections are fraudulent when they are not. So 2014, though, the opposition kind of protests don't go away. 2014, Venezuela is gripped by opposition street demonstrations, guarimbas, against Nicolas Maduro. And this, when we talk about like astroturf CIA stuff, this is what this vibe is to me completely, right? These made worldwide headlines. They went viral on social media, and there was a wide range of interpretations of the event. The 8 key points of contention identified were the following. Number 1, is this a legitimate protest or is this a coup attempt? Number 2, who is demonstrating? Who are these people? Number 3, why are they demonstrating? Number 4, do they have links to outsiders like the American government? Number 5, how violent are they and who is responsible for the violence? Number 6, what has been the government's response? Number 7, how widespread are the demonstrations? Number 8, are the demonstrations designed to overthrow the government? So this is the reaction to these protests is where we get a lot of the claims that Nicolas Maduro has done human rights abuses. So that's why this is important for our assessment and understanding of Nicolas Maduro. Yes, Maduro did invite the UN everybody to come observe the elections, and the opposition actually said no. They were like, don't do that. That'll legitimize him. Very weird. Very, very weird. So, presented below are 2 major explanations of the guarimbas, together with a range of views from other academics. There's the anti-government frame. This end of the spectrum sees the guarimbas as spontaneous, grassroots, and extremely widespread citizens' protest movements, encompassing a wide range of people, but led by unbelievably brave students facing down a, quote, budding military dictatorship. Naim argues that the protesters were demonstrating against disastrous government mismanagement of the economy. Don't forget, immediately upon Maduro winning, Barack Obama started issuing sanctions against Venezuela that we would later find killed tens of thousands of people. Okay, so it was not the government mismanaging the economy. It was the United States mismanaging their economy, basically sabotaging their economy, which had led to inflation, crime, and food shortages. Again, that was us, not them, but okay. But due to the government's repression, morphed into a protest against a, quote, repressive regime that treats them as mortal enemies. And that the idea protest leaders are in league with the CIA, that's laughable. Again, Donald Trump just acknowledged that the CIA has been operating in Venezuela. This is not a conspiracy theory. While Toro concedes the protesters have been guilty of violence, lighting people of color on fire, including shooting police and beheading passersby. Who hasn't done a protest and just beheaded someone walking by? It's normal. This is such a normal thing to do. Maybe there was a little violence. Maybe we beheaded a few guys. Okay. So sue me. What? Yeah. So, they're like, okay, fine. Still, the government and its paramilitary gangs are actually the ones who've done more violence, if you think about it. So how about that? This actually is like very triggering for me to live out for a second. This is triggering. So I had this friend for a while who, when I first met her, her whole life was like a sob story. It's like everything always went wrong for her, but it was never her fault. And she was really good at it though. It was like really subtle. Like the way she did it, you'd be like, oh my God, babe, have you realized that like that person was super abusive to you? And she'd be like, oh, really? I guess you're right. Wow. But the way she worded everything is that she's like, well, they always said I did this and this and this and this. But really, if you think about it, I was actually the best. I actually did so much good stuff. I was the greatest and they were bad. So really that like this approach, right? The really, if you think about it thing, like it wasn't that bad. And that's totally the same approach they're doing here. They're like, okay, fine. Maybe I did all this fucked up bad shit. But like really, if you think about it, didn't Chavez's paramilitary groups do more than we did when we beheaded people randomly walking by our protest? This is like such a type of deflection that's like intensely annoying to me. Like we're not talking about that. We're talking about you beheading people right now. Like what the fuck are you saying? It's absolutely wild. What's a beheading between friends? Well, like, come on. Yeah, and also gangs, yeah. And the right wing, again, the right wing in Venezuela, very racist, very anti-black, very anti-dark skin, very racist. You guys know the famous tweet, obviously, my country yearns for freedom. My country, Venezuela, yearns for freedom. Have you guys all seen it? If you haven't, we can find it. But it's very, very true. If anybody hasn't seen it. It's about the racial breakdown of Venezuela, basically. You haven't seen it? Okay. All right. Let's see if we can find it. Oh, yeah, here. This is the tweet. Blonde-haired, blue-eyed person named something like Sabine Mengel Eichmann. My country, Venezuela, yearns for freedom. This tweet's from 2019, by the way. And this has been like a meme of a tweet since then because it's always like people of European descent who speak English, who have these very European, names, who are like, like, oh my God, like the socialists are oppressing us. And it's because their family were like these rich fucking business people who exploited everybody there before and they're like super rich. Blonde hair, blue eyes called David. David cannot know we roast his dating taste this much on the stream. Many white Venezuelans in your country, and yeah, I get Miami Cubans now. Yeah, that makes sense. So, very, very interesting. All right. So the Chavistas, meanwhile, the government, are like, look, these are not protests. This is a right-wing rampage aimed at overthrowing Maduro illegally. They're trying to do a coup. And it was a concerted effort, they said, by far-right kind of politicians in the country working closely with Washington, D.C., with the United States, to overthrow Maduro. For the Chavistas, those protesting were not a grassroots group of citizens. They were a small group of rich students from elite universities and the light-skinned privileged elites who were conducting a terrorist campaign of violence to intimidate the population into submission, shooting journalists, attacking food stores, setting national parks on fire, attacking ambulances, and burning doctors alive, and even setting light to a kindergarten where nearly 100 children were laying frightened. This is what these far-right absolute fucking monsters were doing there. And this is what I mean, where I'm like, liberals are so extra susceptible to propaganda, they will end up supporting the MAGA in every other country around the world. They're like, oh my God, they were protesting for freedom. We love them. I'm like, babe, it's MAGA on steroids. You're doing extra ultra MAGA that you hate them here. Why are you supporting them in Venezuela? How does this fucking make sense? Very, very wild. So, in April, Maduro claimed the damages caused by the rampage totaled $15 billion. And Chavistas accept that there were causes of serious misconduct by the authorities, or cases of serious misconduct by the authorities, but argue that their response was overall amazingly restrained. And I gotta tell you, if I was the leader of a country, imagine this, literally, you're the leader of a country, you've got MAGA basically running through your streets, beheading people, lighting them on fire, lighting kindergartens on fire with students inside, shooting journalists, burning down grocery stores as you were dealing with food shortages because of an economic issue imposed by a foreign country. What is a measured response to that? Like, what are you supposed to, how do you handle that in a measured way, right? Like, what are you supposed to do to that? I don't know, because I'm like, oh, fuck these guys. Like, oh, fuck them. Like, unless we're bare knuckle like boxing each other at, like in a match, you and me one-on-one, like, come down on them with the full force of the state. That's what your state is for. Your state is to stop doctors from getting burnt alive. Your state is there to stop kindergartens from being lit on fire with children inside of them. Like, that is what your government is there to do. Protect kindergartners from being lit on fire. Also, their obsession with lighting everybody on fire is very, very fucking disturbing. So, absolutely wild. Yes, this person, Heaven sent a TikTok you saw where somebody was like, if you want to be right, you should always be on the side of student protests. I've seen people say this too. And this is wild because it's such an Amerocentric perspective. Like, here in the United States, our government is so right-wing, we don't even have left-wing political parties, like, in a major way here, right? They're pretty small, they're pushed aside, they're really minimized. So here, our student protests tend to be against our power structure. Our power structure is right-wing. Our student protests tend to be more left-wing. In countries with a left-wing power structure, their student protests tend to be very fucking conservative and right-wing. They tend to be right-wing total freaks. And we can't imagine that, right? We can't imagine that in the United States. So that position is how liberals end up supporting, like, the Hong Kong fake student protests, right? Where those people literally hung up a British flag in, like, Hong Kong Parliament and were basically advocating to be recolonized by Britain. I don't know if you guys remember that one. That one was fucking kookballs. You end up supporting student protests in Venezuela, lighting children on fire and doctors. Absolutely wild. Shooting journalists. So bad. Okay, so other academic opinions. Between these two extremes, there was a wide range of academic opinions. The enlightened centrists have entered the chat. Buxton characterized the demonstrations as violent actions carried out by light-skinned students from elite institutions who were defending the ancien regime and had their own privilege. Furthermore, she claims a section of the student movement in Venezuela is deeply embedded with Washington. This is textbook CIA. You go in, and National Endowment for Democracy as well. And we know National Endowment for Democracy is spending a lot of money in Venezuela. You support these student movements to make it look like they're just organic student uprisings, but suddenly they have like millions of dollars of funding by the U.S. government. Student leader Jan Goisochia. Oh, sorry, that took me a second. All the letters like look really similar, so I was like, huh, okay. Was awarded the Cato Institute's $500,000 Milton Friedman Prize. And you guys know Milton Friedman, super free market economics guy, founded the School of Economics at the University of Chicago, literally destroyed Chile. his economic policies were so free market that they were actually illegal in the United States. And the United States was like, well, you can't do them here because of the fucking annoying ass constitution. But we just did a coup in Chile. We got rid of the socialist Salvador Allende there. And we brought in our guy, Pinochet. Spoiler alert, vicious, vicious dictator that brutally murdered many people. That was the United States guy. Do you want to go set up their economy? So Milton Friedman gets his Chicago boys from the fucking School of Economics he founds at University of Chicago. They fuck off down to Chile, and what do? Completely destroy the country with their economic policies. The only thing that saved Chile is that they were like, we're not going to totally listen to you. We're going to hold off on one industry. We're going to keep that kind of nationalized in public, and then ended up saving their economy. So absolutely wild. Millie Friedman. So student leader of these right-wing protests where they beheaded people received a $500,000 award from the Milton Friedman Prize for advancing liberty for his role in organizing anti-government demonstrations. Wild. Absolutely wild. Elner noted that provoking violence and blaming it on the enemy is a time-worn tactic of the opposition, using it, for instance, during the coup of 2002, which we talked about, obviously, when the United States tried to coup Chavez and they failed because he was too well-liked. He stated that the protesters' actions were terrorism, cataloging the long list of attacks against civilians, such as destruction of the Caracas metro and 90 metro buses with hundreds of passengers getting attacked by them, the complete demolition of a campus of the military school, and attacks on the housing ministry, state-owned food distributors, and 162 Cuban doctors. So not even Venezuelan, Cuban doctors. Oh, you were reminded by Marco Rubio's terror claims to Colombia, literally a copy of the Putin justification for the Second Chechnya War. We'll look at this maybe later. We can talk about this maybe later. So, reactions from international actors, right? International reactions contrasted greatly. Many Latin American and Caribbean states and institutions immediately backed the government and condemned what they saw as a U.S.-backed coup attempt. And this is pretty obvious. We are giving $500,000 on paper, who knows what else we're doing, to students leading these protests where they are killing and attacking doctors, beheading people, and lighting children on fire. So Cadena Agramonte said, on behalf of the Bolivian people, we send our energy and support to the courageous Venezuelan people and President Nicolas Maduro. This is announced President Evo Morales. This is from Cadena Argamonte. This coup attempt is being financed from abroad by the United States. Mercosur also rejected the criminal actions of the Guarimba leaders, while UNASUR expressed its solidarity with the government and the victims of the opposition's violence and rejected the right wing's attempts to destabilize the country. The EU advised that the only way out of the situation was through peaceful dialogue. How are you going to have peaceful dialogue with people doing this? This is what I'm talking about. I'm like, I don't know what they fucking expect a country to do about people doing this. Like, they literally expect you to be like, oh my God, bestie, hi bestie friend, do you want to chat about it? Like, that is not an adequate or matched response to this type of bullshit, right? This is insane. So Britain's Foreign Minister William Hague said that he was very concerned about the arrest of opposition activists. He was concerned that these people got arrested. The people killing doctors, beheading people, and lighting kindergartens on fire. He was concerned that they got arrested for that. That was concerning to him. And called on the government to uphold the freedom of the press and opinion. The protesters were murdering journalists, by the way. They were murdering journalists. So what freedom of what is he even talking about? Meanwhile, there was strong condemnation of the government in the United States, with former Vice President Joe Biden accusing it of, quote, confronting peaceful protesters with force, and in some cases with armed vigilantes, limiting the freedoms of press and assembly necessary for legitimate political debate, demonizing and arresting political opponents, and dramatically tightening restrictions on the media. Biden said that instead of working on dialogue, Maduro had tried to distract Venezuelans from internal issues by concocting totally false and outlandish conspiracy theories about the United States. We have documented evidence the United States was paying these people. So all these people are so fucked. Yeah, we're really just lying. We are really just lying. Very, very lying. Senators immediately began discussing sanctions on Venezuela, and President Obama himself declared a national emergency with respect to the, quote, extraordinary threat to the national security and foreign policy of the United States posed by the situation in Venezuela. How the fuck is Venezuela a threat to Americans' security? How is that in any way a threat to us? That is absolutely wild. How is it threatening our national security? Like, what? Since 2014, the U.S. has been in a formal state of emergency due to the actions of the Venezuelan government. Makes no fucking sense. And I believe this was written in 2018 or 2019, for the record. So these reactions would be worth noting as we analyze the media's framing of events. Empirical evidence. In all, 43 people died in the 2014 guarimbas. The number of pro and anti-government deaths is disputed, but the range of statistical evidence indicates that they are approximately equal. There were also a number of citizens killed who were not affiliated with either side, beheading random passerbys. However, media watchdog group Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting stated, the presence of the protest barricades appeared to be the most common cause of death. Individuals shot while attempting to clear the opposition street blockades, automobile accidents caused by the presence of the barricades, and several incidents attributed to the opposition stringing razor wire across the street near the barricades. Leaked cables have shown that the U.S. government funded a number of the leaders of the guarimbas and that funding for Venezuelan anti-government activists increased 80% from 2012 to 2014. The cables also show that the U.S. State Department was well aware that many of the leaders had exceptionally violent pasts. For instance, Nixon Moreno had led a crowd to the state capital of Merida to lynch the governor in 2002, and later was accused of the murder and rape of a police officer, yet it continued to train and support him. So this is the United States. It's like, that's our guy. The rapist? The rapist and the murderer? Get him over here. We like him. We like him. We need him to lynch a guy. Give him some money. How about $500,000? Bro's name was Nixon Moreno. So, evidence strongly suggests that demonstrations were designed from the beginning as a coup, an attempt to forcefully remove Maduro. Inside Venezuela, opposition leaders were open about their intentions. When asked how long he planned the demonstration to go on, the movement's leader, Leopoldo Lopez, replied, until Maduro goes. Indeed, the name the movement gave itself was La Salida, or the exit. In October 2013, Lopez gave a speech in the United States where he said, we have to hurry the exit of the government. Nicolas Maduro must go out sooner than later from the Venezuelan government. Nicolas Maduro and all his supporters, from my point of view, the method is secondary. What is important is the determination to reach our goals at any cost. So they're like, we're going to do anything we can to coup this guy. Hydrate. Will do, Bathurst. Thank you. During an interview at the time, he was asked when the opposition protests would end. And he said, when we managed to remove those who govern us. So again, I just want to make this really, really clear. The United States tries to overthrow Maduro's government. And this is what I talked about when I talked about how you make anybody into a dictator. If you guys saw the other streams when we talked about this, this is the playbook. You run an opposition, you buy a bunch of media, you run an opposition candidate, you pay for him in another country where you don't like the guy who's there. He loses. You claim it's election fraud. It doesn't matter if it's actually election fraud or not. Now you've planted the seed that this other guy's just a dictator who doesn't want to give up power, right? Then you have these fake, basically phony protests that are funded aggressively of locals acting on your behalf, like AstroTurf funded protests to be like, oh my God, I can't believe he won't leave office. He's an evil dictator. The protests get so extreme that the government has no choice but to crack down on them. When the crackdown happens, all of a sudden your paid human rights watch groups around the globe start saying the government is committing human rights abuses against these poor, innocent, peaceful protesters. Next thing you know, you've made a dictator. Now he's a guy who wasn't fairly elected, refuses to give up the position, and is committing human rights abuses. All the while, he's acting very reasonably, and you are trying to destabilize his country. So, yeah. Oh, we've got somebody in the chat. Camila Vela, friend of Child of the Reach. You're Venezuelan. Here's your view. Chavez saved us and greatly improved the economy. Elections were not fraud. I voted. They felt fair and safe. Maduro was a bit worse economically. I agree with that. But still a good, kind leader doing his best under sanctions. I agree with that. I moved to the UK 3 to 4 years ago because sanctions hit hard. I'm so sorry. And crime rose where you lived. Long live the Bolivarian Revolution. Thank you so much for sharing your perspective with us. That is good. And that also makes me feel good because that was my assessment too. That Maduro was not as good at managing the economy, but who could be under those situations? Who could be under the sanctions that the U.S. government started aggressively lobbying between 2014 to 2017 as well? I mean, it was a nearly impossible task, and Chavez probably could have pulled it off, but he was a once in a blue moon kind of leader. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. Thank you, thank you. Oh, we got a hype train incoming. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Aw, somebody gifted a sub to Camilla Vela. Yay, thank you. Yes, long live the Bolivarian Revolution. Yay. Okay, hype train. I don't fully understand what a hype train is. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I don't fully understand what we're doing here, but it's cool and I like it. There's a lot of flashing lights. It's very stimulating, so I'm pleased. Okay, yay. Also, Ghost in This Hell, you have gifted 11 subs. Thank you so much for doing that. Thank you. What do we think America will do next in Venezuela and Latin America? Whatever we can get away with. Whatever we can get away with. Oh, I have to get more water. I'm going to go grab more water. You guys talk amongst yourselves for a few minutes before we get back into this. We're going to wrap it up on the 2014 elections. I basically just wanted you guys to have the backstory to understand this is nothing new. This is what we've been doing. And then we're going to jump over to the 2024 elections as well. That's in a separate article. So I'll be back. You don't get a video, but you get the screensaver of fork, which is pretty cute. Okay, see? And now we're back. That was so fast, right? Yay. Oh my God. Simmer Jamie, thank you. Okay. Yeah, a bunch of millennials in the chat. Sorry, baby, you're right. Guilty. Okay. We're going to celebrate Ireland Part 3. Oh, Comrade Lilith. Yay. Oh my God, thank you. So nice. Oh, so good. Okay. So we're going to wrap it up on the 2013-2014 situation. Basically, you guys get the gist of it, though. The United States is like, we cannot let Maduro be in charge. We didn't want Chavez in charge. We will do everything in our power to make this not happen. We will murder children. We will murder journalists. We will murder doctors. We will behead people. We will do whatever. That is fine. So this is what Maduro was up against. So when you see people being like, he committed human rights abuses, you know, can we link the article that we're reading? I am not able. So fun thing about me, I can't copy and paste links in the chat, and we're still learning how that works. But let me see if I'm allowed to use tinyURL again. They cut me off because I was abusing it. So if I can, then I can create a tinyURL. Oh, sorry. And then I can type it for you. But it is also in my link tree. Oop. Sorry. Am I back on? Oh, I'm okay. Yes. All right. So here's the link. All right. 3EZ 2R7R6. You can coo me. That's fine. You know what? I deserve it. I'm okay with that. It's a lot less pressure for me, honestly. And I'm grateful. Thank you for cooing me. Who wants to take over? Okay. Yeah, is somebody saying left-wing fascism? There's no such thing as left-wing fascism. Fascism is a completely unique political and economic ideology that is like the opposite of communism. And Mussolini, who developed the ideology of fascism, will tell you that. His whole thing is that he was like, fuck communism, it doesn't work. There's no left-wing in this, and he doubled down on it. So there's no such thing as left-wing fascism. Those are two totally different things. It's okay, Koo, because you got congressional approval. My favorite libbies. My little libs. Look at you guys getting your approval. Okay, so We're going to cut to 2024. And this is an article that Alan McLeod, the same guy, wrote. And this is on Mint Press News. Some people will tell you Mint Press News isn't trustworthy. I think they're just as trustworthy as any other website. They posted a few weird things before. Who hasn't? Every news site has had to issue retractions. The two weird things that they posted a weird thing about COVID once that turned out to not be accurate and they had to retract it. And they posted something weird about chemtrails once that they had to retract. Okay. Alan McLeod didn't post any of those, by the way. So whatever. Yeah. So this article, I'm going to try to share this with you guys. We'll do tiny URL again. Oh, invalid. No, wrong. Oh, correct. Okay, fine. All right, let me type this for you guys. There we go. All right, so let's take a look. I'm going to add this to our Venezuela doc. All right. Also, I find that I actually need to people hate this because they don't actually read the thing, so I actually have to add the qualifiers. So we have to say who he is so people know he's real. Okay. So this is our guy. We love him. He's great. He's been going off on Twitter. Follow him on Twitter if you're still on that godforsaken app. All right. Much to the chagrin of the U.S. government, socialist candidate Nicolas Maduro won a third successive term in office Sunday. So this is right after the election, convincingly beating his U.S.-backed opponents, Edmundo Gonzalez and Maria Corina Machado, right? Remember, they ran... Machado couldn't really run legally, so Gonzalez ran as her proxy by 7 points. Almost immediately after the results were announced, American officials began decrying the elections as a farce. "We commend the Venezuelan people's courage and commitment to democracy in the face of repression," Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said in a speech on Sunday evening, adding, "We have serious concerns that the result announced does not affect the will or the votes of the Venezuelan people. It is critical that every vote be counted fairly and transparently." Again, remember, Alan McLeod has laid out in this whole book, they have the most reliable and trustworthy voting system in all of Latin America, probably. It's more advanced and developed than the United States, I would argue, as somebody who's voted in every American election since 2004. So this idea that the Venezuelan votes aren't fair and transparent, those elections, this is totally unfounded since Chavez, in 1998, totally overhauled the whole election system. That election officials immediately share information with the opposition and independent observers without delay, and that elected authorities publish the detailed tabulation of votes. The international community is watching this very closely and will respond accordingly. Remember, they have been accusing socialists in Venezuela of stealing elections for a decade, 2 decades now. It's never happened. It's never been real. It's always been fake bullshit. They still do it every single time, right? You repeat a lie enough, it becomes the truth. First time chat, every accusation is a confession. Fuck. Thank you, I didn't see it. All right, I've just been reading to you while you look at my face. You're welcome. Okay, screen share. All right. So this is the article. This is what we're talking about. And I added it to our link tree as well, so you can access it there. So Senator Marco Rubio, a longtime Venezuela hawk, went further, stating, "Everybody knows that massive voter turnout like the one today in Venezuela would result in a massive loss by Maduro." Why? Everybody loves the Chavista government. Shockingly, people are not so excited about the group of random wackadoos who've been beheading people in the streets for 10 years or whatever. So the only way he wins is with massive fraud. Source, I made it up. That is what's going on here with Marco Rubio. And guess what? Now Marco Rubio's super involved in what's going on in Venezuela. Cool. Love that. Cool. Great. He went on to say that Maduro should have lost by 40 points. Why? just vibes, and would immediately institute a communications blackout across the country in an effort to cement his rule, something that did not happen because he did not need to. Statements like these completely contrast the accounts and testimonies of dozens of American electoral observers in Venezuela, many of whom spoke with Mint Press News, with Alan McLeod. I don't agree with Marco Rubio, said Wyatt Sowers, a representative of the International People's Assembly, explaining, the U.S. has tried to destabilize and undermine the legitimacy of basically every Venezuelan election in recent memory. Ahead of the election, they always put out statements and media pieces declaring the election a fraud before it even happens. But what we've witnessed this week is tons of support for the Maduro government amongst the people here. Sowers visited several polling stations in the Caracas area. And noted that turnout was massive, with hundreds of people inside the voting stations at any given time. We got to go in and see the voting process. Everything was happening according to protocol. And so I would say it seems like these elections are legitimate, and we fully support the right of the Venezuelan people to determine their own future. Roger D. Harris, an observer from Task Force of the Americas, spent the day observing electoral centers in Miranda State. He and others told Mint Press that the opposition supporters were perfectly happy to publicly announce their allegiances and express their grievances with the government. Despite their opposition to socialism, most retained confidence in the electoral system. As Harris noted, I spoke to a person who was voting against Maduro, a professional who studied psychology in San Francisco. She was hopeful for change, but what was very significant was that she thought that the electoral process is free and fair. Overall, our impressions of going to the various polling places was that people were very welcoming to us, international observers, and were very proud to be out there voting for their country. Many U.S. observers who spoke with Mint Press News were quick to compare the Venezuelan system favorably with their own. I'm actually kind of blown away by how advanced the system is, particularly compared to the backward nature of the U.S., so I'm completely impressed, Jody Dean, a professor and political scientist, said. We witnessed several polling stations and we did not see any irregularities or anything that would point to any type of fraud or illegitimacy. Their voting process here is much more rigorous than the United States, Sauer told Mint Press. They have a very good process here. Elizabeth Burley, a representative of, Union de Vecinos. Oh my God, this is our LA Tenants Union. I've done volunteer work for them before. Oh, that's so cool. Spent election day monitoring voting in the La Guaira state and noted a number of superior features of Venezuelan democracy. Sorry, I'm like tripped out. That's so cool. Like, yeah, we work with them a lot down here in LA. They're awesome. They do a lot of tenants work in Boyle Heights, tenants advocacy. So I've done anti-gentrification stuff in Boyle Heights in support of them. Furthermore, she said, Venezuelan elections are held on Sunday rather than midweek as they are in the U.S., allowing more people to participate. Burley noted that she was able to go inside stations and observe everything, that there were witnesses from both government and opposition parties present. Apart from the few verbal exchanges between left and right-wing voters, she said, events proceeded in a state of calm. Mint Press, however, witnessed a crowd of over 100 opposition supporters arrive in a voting center in central Caracas at 6 p.m., attempting to force polling stations to close exactly on time. The crowd tried to block latecomers from voting, but without success. One opposition supporter blocking the door said, nobody should be allowed to vote unless they are from our side. So the opposition candidates were trying to do some voter intimidation, but not the pro-Chavistas. Okay, so media undermines a trustworthy process. Do we have a boring troll in the chat? Is it fun or is it boring? It's like here. Yeah. So Western media appeared as eager as the U.S. government to undermine the elections in Venezuela and agitate for political strife. Venezuela's autocrat is declared winner in tainted election, ran a New York Times headline. Again, our media has been calling these people dictators with no fucking evidence going back decades. They just make this shit up. The BBC described Maduro's celebration party as choreographed. This reminds me of people are like, look at the videos of North Korea. They're all acting. It's fake. And you're like, what the? That's insane. Why would another country invent a whole little play to put on for you? That's like, what are you fucking saying? So yeah, the BBC says Maduro's election party was choreographed, implying he does not actually enjoy widespread support. They were actors. The people are pretending to like Maduro. It's just crazy. Yeah, democratically mute him. He seems boring. Elon Musk, billionaire owner of Twitter, retweeted a call from a far-right Argentinian politician, Javier Milei, to the Venezuelan military to stage a coup against Maduro. Shame on dictator Maduro, Elon Musk said. The fact that liberals are falling for this shit is wild. I mean, they're so easy to trick. They are so easy to deceive. It's bonkers. Fake news abounds on social media as well, as images circulate of thieves supposedly stealing election boxes full of ballots. What can clearly be seen in those videos, however, are people taking huge air conditioning units. Ballot boxes in Venezuela are made of brown cardboard and are barely larger than a shoebox. The giant white appliance thieves are dragging out with them, and the videos bear zero resemblance to the ballot boxes. Hoax pictures, supposedly showing the National Electoral Council CNE headquarters with screens, all showing the real results of an opposition victory, went viral. As did a screenshot from a Telesur infographic that incorrectly stated that 3 minor opposition parties received 4.6% of the vote each instead of combined. This meant that the entire vote on Telesur's graphic added up to 109%. That relatively minor data entry error was enough for the image to go viral around the world, supposedly proving a gigantic fraud, despite the fact that the source was merely a TV channel rather than the CNE itself. Like, why? Ugh. So, these are some tweets Alan McLeod posted of himself. There is a coup d'etat attempt underway here in Venezuela, fueled by a ton of fake news. In this thread, I will debunk some of the most egregious and viral fake stories circulating. And remember, he was there on the ground as an election observer and reporter at this time. And here he talks about this. This is not the boxes, everything he's saying here. These are all the fake things that he's talking about here. So he's very active on Twitter. Again, I recommend. So he says, in reality, the Venezuelan electoral system is perhaps the most advanced in the world. To cast a ballot, voters must present their national identification card. They must also have fingerprints scanned. If both the ID card and the fingerprint match those on the national database, then they can vote on a touchscreen electronic voting machine. The electronic vote is sent to the National Electoral Commission headquarters in Caracas, and a paper ballot is printed. Voters must check the ballot and place it in a box. Afterwards, they must put their thumb on an ink blot and stamp it next to their name on an electoral roll to prove they have voted. They then physically sign their name beside the fingerprint. When polls close, paper ballots are counted in front of witnesses from all parties and compared to the electronic vote count. If there are any discrepancies, a full audit is conducted. In 2013, the electronic vote was 99.98% accurate. This was because across Venezuela, 22 people who had voted on the machines failed to put their paper ballot in the box. So this is their electoral system. It's honestly wild. In 2012, President Jimmy Carter, whose Carter Center regularly monitors elections worldwide, described the Venezuelan process as the best in the world. Everything has been calm to the point of boring, Dean said of the election process, adding, people are happy and welcoming tons of foreigners to look and see what they are doing and explain it patiently with confidence and real enthusiasm for democracy. Actually, I think that one of the reasons that there is so much cynicism in the United States about democracy is that people don't trust the system. And here, part of their enthusiasm is that they have a lot of confidence in their system and that their voice will be heard. Nicolas Maduro came to power in 2013 in a similarly heavily sanctioned election. The results were endorsed globally, almost without exception, and the United States was the only country to refuse to recognize his victory. Since his rise to power, Washington has waged a relentless economic war on Venezuela in an attempt to strangle his administration. There are currently over 900 U.S. sanctions against Venezuela. Absolutely wild. 900 sanctions. The effect has been devastating. Under the weight of the American blockade, Venezuela's oil industry collapsed, causing it to lose 99% of its international income. Under threats of secondary sanctions, countries and businesses refused to trade with Venezuela, causing massive shortages of food and other necessary goods. People always ask, how does an American sanction affect other countries not doing business? Because we will tell them, if you want to keep doing business with us, you can't trade with the people we sanctioned. And frankly, the United States has more money than Venezuela. So if they have to choose one, we're giving them an ultimatum, they're going to choose us. So that ends up further affecting our sanctioned countries. So a report published by the Center for Economic and Policy Research, a DC think tank, found that between 2017 and 2018, the U.S. blockade killed more than 40,000 people. That's in 2017 and 2018 alone. So when people are like, why did everybody flee Venezuela? It must be Maduro. They were literally dying from U.S. sanctions, okay? One American United Nations official who visited the country described the situation as akin to a medieval siege and declared the U.S. guilty of crimes against humanity. All right, so don't let people downplay the effects of these sanctions. If you hear people be like, oh, the sanctions aren't a big deal and discount them, walk it back and be like, no. You know that sanctions in Venezuela have killed over 100,000 people, right? You know, from 2017 to 2018, they killed 40,000 people alone. Like, they're not nothing. Like, walk that back. Like, literally, people said the United States was guilty of crimes against humanity because the effects of the sanctions were so extreme. The economic war is mirrored by a political war, as Washington has attempted to isolate Venezuela internationally. Media, too, has played their part, constantly demonizing Venezuela as a failed state presided over by a dictatorship. In his victory speech on Sunday evening, Maduro claimed the results were a victory of truth over lies and decried the dirty war against Venezuela being played out in the press and on social media. Honestly, reading this stuff and thinking about Venezuela in general, thinking about how proud they are of their electoral process, thinking about Maduro getting fucking kidnapped, dragged to New York, and paraded around and humiliated, thinking about his wife with fucking bandages on her face, like, this is so sad. Like, this is so fucking sad, right? Like, it's horrible. I didn't see what ICE did. What did they do now? What are they up to now, these fucks? Bandages on her face. Yeah. Maduro's wife had bandages on her face. She might have a broken rib from the arrest being so brutal. They shot a woman in the face in Minneapolis. Two hours ago. Defensive shots. What the fuck? Department of Homeland Security sent more than 2,000 ICE agents to the Twin Cities. Also, by the way, where Aspen got her education. DHS narrative said that a woman attempted to ram her car into ICE agents and an agent shot and hit her. Numerous video posts circulating on social media are challenging the DHS narrative, though, with several graphic videos showing interaction between the vehicles and the agents. Do you guys want to see the videos or no? Take a vote, maybe, if you want to or not. If we want to watch it. Nah, okay, we don't have to watch it. No. A witness told this news station that the victim was trying to flee from ICE agents when she was shot dead. Officials have not confirmed whether she was the target of an ICE raid or not. Okay, good. That's good to know about the terms of service. A burgundy SUV is visible at the scene with a bullet hole through the driver's windshield. The SUV is smashed into a light pole, and there are two damaged cars parked nearby. DHS spokesperson issued the following statement. Tricia McLaughlin, ICE officers in Minneapolis were conducting targeted operations when rioters began blocking ICE officers, and one of these violent rioters weaponized her vehicle, attempting to run over our law enforcement officers in an attempt to kill him. An ICE officer, fearing for his life, the lives of his fellow officers, and of the public, fucking bullshit, fired defensive shots, fucking bullshit, used his training and saved his own life and that of his fellow officers. Fucking loser. Waltz asked Minnesotans to remain calm and said his team was working to gather information on the shooting. Protesters threw some snowballs in the directions of ICE agents, and law enforcement deployed tear gas and pepper spray. No, I haven't seen the video. It's very hard for me to watch stuff like that. I'm very, very sensitive. Let's see. Jesus, fucking wild. Okay. More than 1,000 people have been arrested in the Twin Cities area as part of the operation. Oh yeah, okay. Maybe unshare your screen and watch the vid. Yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe. I don't know. I have a hard time watching. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Like, I told you guys I don't watch a lot of video stuff. It's very, very challenging for me to watch a lot of stuff like that. I'm very, very sensitive. So probably if I watch it, I'll just start sobbing and I won't be able to talk for like an hour. So it probably won't be very good for us in the chat. I'm very, very baby about these things. I'm really sorry. So just full disclosure. So the presence of federal immigration enforcement agents is causing chaos in our city. Frey posted Wednesday morning. We're demanding ICE to leave the city immediately. We stand rock solid with our immigrant and refugee communities. Yeah, I'm just on KARE 11 right here. So let me do a tiny URL for you guys if you want, and then I can type it in. Yeah, I care about people a lot. I was a sensitive child. That's what I always say. My mother tells me that you were always a sensitive child. I'm like, yeah. Oh, sorry, it already did it. I'm just like, kind of like, oh, God. All right. So there's a link to the article I just found. If anybody wants to look at it, feel free to report back. They're really going hard after Minnesota right now. It's pretty wild. Yeah. Okay. So feel free to check that out. It's obviously horrible. And it's just a matter of time. These people aren't properly trained either. They're idiots. I can't believe we gave them guns. Like, it's crazy. And also, it's like worth noting again, ICE is a bipartisan issue. Like, I'm older, right? I'm 39. I accidentally said I was 40 on a video, and everybody was like, oh, yeah, it's your birthday. And I'm like, oh, no, just at the beginning of the year, I always just start rounding up in anticipation of my birthday. I've always done that. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to confuse you. My birthday's in August. I'm 39 still, but in my head, I'm like, yeah, I'm like 40. We didn't have ICE growing up. ICE was a reaction to 9/11. So I come from a no ICE world. It was fine. ICE would not have stopped 9/11. It had nothing to do with 9/11. It was just anti-immigrant scare tactics. We have absolutely no need for ICE, and it's completely realistic to not have ICE. So seeing this is like super fucking annoying, right? Especially knowing a world before it was better. And ICE budgets, let's see. I think I can find a graph to show you guys. This is something that we really thought the next Democrat. So this was done under George W. Bush, Republican, very, very conservative, evil Republican. We really thought the next Democrat to get elected would undo it. We really thought Obama would be like, okay, no more ICE. That was fucking stupid. It was in response to 9/11. We're not in response to 9/11 anymore. He didn't. He raised the budget for ICE. And this is like this chart about boosting ICE budgeting, how it's bipartisan. This is where Trump had it his first term. You'd expect, oh, okay, Trump was the anti-immigration president. Everybody hated it, right? Yeah, we're just over the hell, exactly. This is like this was the Trump one. Biden increased it. Like, Biden increased the ICE budget. So this has been the issue. It's been like this climbing budget. And this is when I say every president just yes ands the one that came before him, right? Yeah, we thought Obama would get rid of ICE, would close Guantanamo Bay, would do all the shit. Didn't do fucking any of that, right? So, yeah, that's pretty wild. Okay, so we'll get back on track with this Venezuela thing, just because I'll start crying. Your first election was Obama 2012. Yeah. I mean, I voted for Obama. I was like, well, I know he's not going to do all this shit, but like maybe we'll get free healthcare or something. I don't know. And then afterwards, I was like, I was already a socialist too. And I was like, I'm so fucking stupid. I thought a Democrat was going to do something. Like, what? Like, that was when I was like, damn, I got got. I got got by that guy. Like, wow. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that one has inflation or just raw funding. Let's see. These are just the raw numbers. This doesn't include inflation. I don't think it really matters though. What is inflation? Usually 3% per year, if things aren't bad. 8.9 times 0.03. So it should have been an increase in $200,000 from this one sample we're taking. So it should have been 9.1. Yeah, and that's what they did under Biden. They did it this. So let's say 8.4 in between presidents. Sorry, every year it looks like they raised it 3% for inflation. So 2.2. So this should have been 8.6 should have been the increase. So if they had just raised it by inflation from Trump to Biden, the first year of Biden, it should have been 8.6. And it wasn't. It was 8.9. So it accounts for inflation and more is what we're seeing here. Okay, so we'll go back to Venezuela. We'll wrap up this 2024 thing. This is good, like, just talking points for when you're talking to people who are like, he's not the legitimate election or elected official or representative. I think people really need to understand this stuff. So that's why I think it's important. I'm just like, we're doing a deep dive on Venezuela this week. She was driving away. She didn't try to run anyone over. I believe that. Yeah. Oh, so sad. Okay. So where we left off, we were talking about the The sanctions killing more than 40,000 people from 2017 to 2018, and people describing it as a medieval siege and saying the U.S. was guilty of crimes against humanity. That was somebody from the United Nations. American United Nations official. The economic war is mirrored by a political war, as Washington has attempted to isolate Venezuela internationally. Media, too, have played their part, constantly demonizing Venezuela as a failed state presided over by a dictatorship. In his victory speech on Sunday, Maduro claimed the results were a victory of truth over lies and decried the dirty war against Venezuela being played out in the press and on social media. The U.S. has supported multiple coup attempts against Maduro and his predecessor, Hugo Chavez. It has also spent tens of millions of dollars funding opposition groups, including NGOs, student organizations, and political parties. Let's see what this source says. I love that he does this for this, too. So this talks about the election interference leading up to it. This is from June 25th, 2024, about the funding. Marina Corina Machado is a case in point. The opposition leader's human rights group, Sumate, was bankrolled by the CIA front group, the National Endowment for Democracy. This is her. And in the campaigning, she was the one that did all the elections and rallies and stuff. Is this generally what we cover in our Venezuela podcast episodes? Not as much. It's this is more of a deep dive just on the on the election itself. So I would say that we don't go into as much detail on the election stuff in the podcast, because also the podcast was recorded before any of this happened. So it was just like we're escalating tensions kind of thing. Oh, bye Starburst. I hope you come back tomorrow. Yay. Yeah, the podcast is more history. So we try to do more current events on the live stream to kind of balance it out. So, and even then, you see, I still go into the history. I'm like, okay, it's current events. So we're starting in 2013. That's my version of current events. So I'm sorry, but yeah. All right. Fighting U.S. imperialism. Venezuela has been a target because it offers an alternative vision of how society should be organized. Under Hugo Chavez, Venezuela nationalized its vast oil industry and used the profits to fund massive social welfare programs, including free healthcare, education, and housing. Under Chavez, poverty was reduced by half, extreme poverty was reduced by 3/4, illiteracy was eradicated, and the student population grew to become the fourth largest in the world. Venezuela became an inspiration around the globe, especially as it led the movement for a multipolar world, offered unqualified support for Palestinian liberation, and gave its oil away for free to poor countries and communities, including Black and Native American populations in the U.S. who had their homes heated for free or at heavily discounted rates, courtesy of the Venezuelan government. I don't know if you guys know that. Venezuela literally heated poor Americans' homes for us who couldn't afford it on their own. They gave us free gas for our poor people here. Let's see which one this links to. Oh, yeah. This is from Venezuela Analysis. Indigenous people, Black communities. Yeah. Absolutely wild. U.S. sanctions devastated the country. But the Maduro administration appears to have successfully weathered the worst of the storm. Stores are full again, inflation has been tamed, and Venezuela now produces 96% of the food it consumes. So they had to invest in all this domestic infrastructure, right? Because they weren't able to import things like food anymore. On top of that, Maduro's signature housing policy, Misión Gran Vivienda Venezuela, just celebrated the building of its 5 millionth apartment. Venezuela is healing is a common slogan across the country. While the likes of Anthony Blinken and Marco Rubio condemn the electoral process in Venezuela, their positions are not supported by the dozens of Americans who were actually on the ground in Venezuela last week. It is doubtful, however, that those observers' words and testimonies will be heeded by those in power. And Alan MacLeod, for anybody who's not familiar, not American, got his degree at University of Glasgow. After all, for the U.S. empire, some issues are too important to let the truth get in the way. And that's really the bulk of it here. So, yeah. Now let's talk about who's claiming it's election fraud and why. So, the Carter Center is usually who is cited when people talk about election fraud. So if we just Google this, election fraud, Venezuela, 2024, it's probably going to be... Carter Center is a lot of it. How Maduro stole Venezuela's vote, right? Human Rights Foundation condemns fraudulent election results in Venezuela. Pretty wild, right? Now, what ended up happening is opposition candidates claimed that this was not a real result. They also claimed that they found 80% of the paper ballots, that they wanted to use that as the actual election results as well. We have no way to know it was actually 80% of the ballots. We have no way to know that they were the actual ballots. They were just like, we found them. And yeah, this is not matching up, with a polling of people in the country. Again, we saw that one poll that said only 9% rather, of people in Venezuela approved of Machado. So the idea that she would win enough, we'll translate to English, to have her proxy win the presidency is not very strong. And they said there's a margin error of 3%, so could go a little bit. But this is the kind of stuff we have coming out about the idea that election fraud occurred. Presidential election in Venezuela took place July 28th. It ended with proven fraud. They're just saying proven fraud. Chavista incumbent Nicolas Maduro allegedly won with 52% basically of the votes compared to 43% for Gonzalez, the proxy for Machado. In a brilliantly prepared process supported by volunteers and 58,000 volunteer groups, the clever opposition obtained copies of around 85% of the election files. The results from over 30,000 polling stations in the country, digitized them on election night and calculated the true results as an estimate from this huge sample. So this comes from the opposition party themselves that are funded and backed by the Trump presidency, right? Around 67% actually voted for Gonzalez and Machado. Just 30% voted for Maduro. That's what Gonzalez, that's what Machado's saying. Machado's saying we won with 67% actually. Really, if you think about it, even though we lost the election, we actually won. If you only look at 85% of the votes that I'm telling you are the actual real tallies that you can just believe me on. No big deal. Hydrate, will do. The elections are only fraudulent if the United States thinks it can pull off a coup. Actually, they're always fraudulent. If a socialist is elected who wants to keep oil nationalized, then they're fraudulent. That's it. So the impending disaster for Maduro had already been foreshadowed months before the election. The extremely popular, charismatic Maria Machado of the Vente Venezuela Party, a member of Liberal International, was denied the presidential candidacy by the courts, despite huge success in the opposition primaries. Only this, she was disqualified because she did some fraud thing, I'm pretty sure. Let me look this up again. Why? Except, let's see if we can figure out why. Oh yeah, she was disqualified because she had been part of a corruption plot orchestrated by Juan Guaido, who had to flee the country. That was another kind of coup attempt. Who had to flee the country, basically, and come to the United States. So she was guilty basically she was ineligible because she was found trying to commit treason and sell the country to the United States. So that's why they were like, you can't run for president. What? You're working for a foreign power. You try to undermine our whole country here. So exactly what the Democrats think should have happened to Donald Trump. You shouldn't be able to run for president again legally because you tried to usurp democracy. That's what the Democrats say about Donald Trump. That is what the Venezuelan court said about Machado. These people are so inconsistent. Okay, wait. News from from the government. Hold on.
This situation better, but I do have a message for our community, for our city, and I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the fuck out of Minneapolis. There's little I can say, again, that'll make this situation better, but I do have a...
All right, there we go. Yes, Juan Guaido, was a former guy who tried to basically steal the election. Okay, so... pretty wild. All right, back on Venezuela. All right. So the Supreme Court obviously said Machado was disqualified for being involved in a coup attempt with Guaido, which makes sense. Now, they don't mention that here. They don't mention that in this article, right? They're like, people love her. They're like, she tried to do a coup. She tried to do a coup in your fucking country. So, all right. This led to the largely unknown Edmundo Gonzalez running with full support of the united opposition and effect as a kind of proxy for Machado, like we talked about. The final conclusion to the electoral fraud was finally provided by a court judgment later this August, which confirmed the results with Maduro as the winner, without the electoral authority having published the election files produced by the voting machines to date. All right, so this is what they're claiming. Now, again, this is just these people basically claiming this, these Western-backed, these U.S.-backed forces. It's possible Machado actually won the election. I'm of the belief that it doesn't fucking matter, because I've said this before, but like, if you bought so much media and manipulation that you convinced an entire country to vote for your guy in that country by feeding them disinformation, misinformation, controlling the narrative, spinning things, they did not make an informed vote. So even if this, it doesn't matter. You still stole their election, right? It doesn't matter how many extra steps you put in there. If you were spreading misinformation and disinformation and confusing people to the point that they did not have the right information to vote, their decision doesn't matter. They didn't have the proper knowledge, right? You manipulated the situation. That's not real. That's like giving a confession under duress or something like that, right? If I tell you, we have two options for dinner tonight, right? We're going to go to Carl's Jr., or we're going to go to Del Taco. And Del Taco just poisoned and killed 13 people with food poisoning there. Where do you want to go? And you're like, shit, I guess we'll go to Carl's Jr. That's fucked up. If I lied to you about that happening and that never happened to Del Taco, you didn't get a choice, right? Like, you didn't get a choice. So that's like what's going on here. So I don't really care personally if Machado really won the election. The United States has been meddling and destabilizing Venezuela for so long. If we're backing her, she should have immediately, like this whole Gonzalez thing, this never should have been allowed to happen. And the Venezuelan courts tried not to, right? So this is clearly us, and this is not okay. Whatever the case, I think that it doesn't matter. But I also find it very, very hard to believe that these people actually won the election. What seems more plausible is that Maduro is just like, we're not fucking going through this again. Like, I'm not doing this again, which would make sense. It's like, I'm not honoring this. I'm not fucking playing into this. Like, the United States doesn't run the country. I'm not doing this, which would make sense. I'd be inclined to have the same result. So that makes sense. Anyway, and let's see. Gonzalez is like, I'm going to return back when I'm the rightful winner. No, it's not going to happen. And that's kind of it. So the people really claiming this the most are Carter Center. Journal of Democracy. Oh, this is about, okay, yeah. Oh, wait, we'll talk about Human Rights Foundation. Human Rights Foundation is funded by, I've checked these guys out before. Who fucking funds these guys? We gotta look this up. Bitcoin Development Fund. What the fuck? Oh, okay, here we go. This isn't the good one. Oh, they don't disclose their donors. Democracy. Woo. All of our typos, because we got to do this. I hate them too. They do these like such vague words, like vague titles, like Human Rights Foundation. Like the Uyghur stuff's like this too. Uyghur Congress, blah blah blah. It's very funny since the 2020 election, how much grift is being done to get unpleasant far-right billionaire poodles in power. Yeah, exactly. It was already in my search history, was it? See, I know I've done this before. I need to keep a document on it. Yeah, so, okay, this is a joint statement along with them. So they work together. International partnership. It's so hard because it's like there's so much. They're just called the Human Rights Foundation. I think I found this out once. This is government funded, but I can't find it right now because it's so generic. Like you look, it's all like lowercase. A lot of it. Ugh, so annoying. Ugh, we're not going to be able to find it, are we? No, we're not. Okay, we're not going to be able to find it right now. But I've looked this up before, and it is government funded in some capacity, and I can't remember how. Ned Financials. Let's look. They've been scrubbing things a lot. I don't know if it's Ned specifically, though. That's the thing that I'm like, maybe it is them. There used to be this searchable database that was way better. Do you have the link handy for where to find it? It's always Ned. I know it's always Ned. Fuck that guy. They used to have like a total searchable database, which was great. Donors. Oh no, these are just the private donors that gave them money. Asia grant listing. Active grant listing. Annual report. Program report? Maybe that's it. We're looking. Yeah, AI is like so annoying. In 2024, Ned approved $286 million for 1,900 projects. That's what's crazy. It's like propaganda is so cheap and so effective. Like so cheap and so effective. This is like 22 pages. I don't think this is it. Nope. This is just their finance. They don't have the details in there. Okay, well, if you find it, feel free to share it. But I feel like it's going to get us too off course if I spend a lot of time on this because I got to jump off soon. So what we can talk about is Carter Center because I had this pre-prepared already. So Carter Center is who people usually cite for the election results. And this is their section about their funding partners. This is who funds Carter Center. So we're just going to scroll down to you. Carter Center is funded explicitly by USAID, right, which is a front for regime change operations, right, and also the U.S. Department of State. The U.S. State Department literally funds Carter Center directly. So just like we saw in previous elections, the people making these claims are Western backed, right, sometimes explicitly Western government funded. They're the ones claiming that Maduro stole the election, basically. This and the thing that's really important to remember is like this is not an isolated incident. This comes after years and years and years of doing the same thing over and over and over again. How to convince your epidemiologist friend that USAID is bad? Tell them that USAID forcefully sterilized indigenous women in Peru and tortured a homeless man to death in Uruguay. That might be good. Yeah. Very, very interesting. So, I feel like I have to go. I feel like I have to start my day. It's 11. Sorry, everybody. And yeah, I think I gotta jump off. So think about things you guys want to talk about tomorrow. If you want to stay on Venezuela, if you want to move to something different, we'll be here tomorrow morning doing the exact same thing. So the Venezuela stuff, yeah. Just remember, this is a pattern of abuses. It's a historical pattern, and it's all the United States making these claims. So think about things if you want to talk tomorrow, though. I'll be really excited for us to talk about other things. Oh, grant. Oh, nice. Is it everything or is it just a few? I wonder. Ugh, that's all this. No, so this isn't in here. I feel like it's more than this, though. They give so much more. Oh, it's just generic. They don't say the actual names. They're just like the amount given for each topic. That has dollar amounts, but it's like, this is just to go to exposing state capture, things like that. We can see how much is in Venezuela, certainly. Look. Is this all Venezuela? No. Okay, hold on. This is all Venezuela. That's all Venezuela? Wait, this is huge. This is Peru's, by contrast. Here's Peru, the grants given in Peru. This is Venezuela where it starts. In 2024. Oh my God. Oh, I didn't show you guys. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I keep forgetting. Okay. So look. Sorry. Here, let's do it again. Peru. This is Peru's. How much money was spent on Peru? I can't see. I'm sorry. That's Peru, right? It starts here, ends here. I'm so bad at Twitch still. I'm getting used to it. Here's Venezuela where it starts. That's all Venezuela. Like, again, and just for 2024, this is Peru. And these aren't even individual orgs. These are just like the types. So this is for enhancing awareness of international justice, promoting community engagement, promoting access to information. This is like all also like 1984 doublespeak, right? Documenting and raising awareness on crimes against humanity. Fostering civic engagement amongst youth. That's like pay a psychotic white student protester to behead people walking by you. Liberal doublespeak, exactly. Documenting detention conditions. Oh my God, everybody's being tortured to death. Defending human rights, like your right to behead somebody walking by you. Promoting human rights protections in the Orinoco Basin region. Strengthening a new democracy coalition, like challenging election results. Strengthening democratic activism among labor unions, like getting them to side with you instead of going to a socialist. Strengthening the resilience of human rights organizations. Documenting the state of judicial independence. Promoting civic participation. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Yes, exactly. Once you look at Nepal and say they dropped $500K to train local organizers to encourage resistance. Exactly. This is Ned shit. Oh, I'm sure North Korea is in here. The question is, do they call them North Korea or do they call them DPRK? Let's look at Korea, maybe just in general. Oh, they're not listed. I bet it's just listed under like Asia or something. Because some are like regional, you know? El Salvador, let me see. Am I on the wrong thing? I feel like this is silly that there's nothing. No, North Korea, though, I will say a lot of their stuff. Hold on. Gets funded from congressional stuff. It's really weird. A lot of the stuff in North Korea comes from Congress. Guatemala, Haiti. Is this all Latin America? No. Yeah, this is just Latin America. This is just the Latin America one. That's why. Okay. What is this? We need the grant listings for Asia to look at that. Yeah, the heading. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry. I'm ding dong. I'm sorry. I'm ding dong. Thank you guys. Can you tell my head's in a different place? I'm like thinking about different things. Oh yeah. Okay. We did end up on this page. I just didn't really, I've been so distracted. Okay. So let's see. Yeah. North Korea. Here's North Korea. And that's, again, a lot of the North Korea stuff is congressionally funded because it comes from the Cold War. So it was set up before NED existed. So there is also stuff that's congressionally allocated every year for North Korea in particular. Mapping crimes against humanity. That's wild. These numbers are really high too compared to the other places. Exposing Russia's role in North Korean human rights atrocities. Wow. Is Nepal in the Asia one? Yeah. Yeah. Wild. China in the world. Russia in the world. You see that in green. Russia's role, not ours. Not us. We're innocent. It's Russia. Okay. All right, everybody. I got to log off. Thanks so much for sticking around with me today. We'll be doing this again tomorrow, and I'll hopefully keep getting better at Twitch. I'm working on it. I think I've made improvements. It's been like a month. I'm getting a little better. I'm getting a little more comfortable. I'm figuring things out. We're going to keep at it. Yeah. Who do we want to raid? Who should we raid? Who? Rob? Sure. Who's Rob? What's the username? I'll throw it in there. Most improved. Yay, we're working on it. Anybody got a username? Oh, Rob Rousseau again. Yeah. Is Ugopnik on right now? Hydrating. Let's do somebody else maybe. Real Mr. Fong or Ugopnik. Yeah, let's do Ugopnik. I love him. I love the boys. We gotta love the boys. Maybe we'll do Real Mr. Fong next time though. I think it'll work. Yay! Whoop whoop. We're doing it. Okay. Bye everybody.